So the first, thing that I want to get across to all of you and remind myself of is because we are believers, that does not mean our problems disappear. It's not like because I'm a believer, I'm not going to be sad. Or because I'm a believer, I'm not going to experience anxiety. Or I'm not going to have family problems. Or I'm not going to have financial problems or health problems or whatever else. Belief, our faith in Allah, our relationship with Allah is not there to solve our problems. It's not there to get rid of the people in our life that are causing us trouble. That's not the purpose of our faith. If that was the case, then the Prophets, ﷺ, who had the most close connection with Allah, would have had the easiest life. And if you study the Prophets, the closest people to Allah, ﷺ, they have the hardest life. The toughest life comes to them not even from some faraway enemies, it comes to them from their own families. So in other words, it comes to them from people they can't even escape. So the idea that human beings are created and were placed in a situation where they're going to struggle, they're going to have to deal with very difficult circumstances, very difficult situations, and even people. They're going to have to deal with that, is part of life. People assume the higher your iman, the problems are going to go away. No, the higher your iman, something else. And that something else is what I hope to explain to you today. But for now, I want to give you an example. The two of the hardest burdens that human beings live with are fear and sadness. Fear and grief. Those are the two heaviest burdens that human beings live with in this life. As a matter of fact, when Allah sent Adam alayhi salam to the earth, He told him, whoever follows my guidance, they're going to be able to combat fear and sadness, essentially. In other words, Allah knew that in the story of humanity from Adam alayhi salam to the last human being that's going to walk on this earth, every one of them is going to have to struggle with fear and they're going to have to struggle with sadness. Now, what are these two things? Fear is about what's going to happen in the future. Fear is about, am I going to lose my job? What's going to happen to mom? What's going to happen to my family? What's going to happen with this and what's going to happen with that? These fears about what's going to happen in the next few hours or in the next few days or in the year from now or in the future, these fears are small and big and they're all the time. They're a part of us. You wake up afraid. You're afraid you're going to be late to work. But fear is a constant part of life. It's always there. Today I want to talk to you about an extreme case of fear and sadness first. And that's the mother of Musa alayhi salam. I can't think of a more extreme case of a woman who had to do something so incredibly unthinkable. She knows that any minute from now, soldiers are going to break her door and they're going to kill her baby in front of her own eyes. And the only idea she had that Allah put in her is you need to put your child in a basket, throw it into the river. Now when you throw something in a river, the river is moving water. It's also the case that a basket may not necessarily float. It may get water inside. It may hit a rock. There are animals inside the water. There are all kinds of things. And this mother has to take her newborn and she has to throw this thing into the water. Can you imagine the kind of fear this woman has in her heart when she does that? And when she does that, she can't even look at it and can't even cry and scream, my baby, my baby. She can't do that because if she does that, the soldiers will know one survived and they'll go after him and kill him. So this basket is slipping away from her sight to the point where she doesn't even know what happened to it. And now she's living with this incredible, overwhelming sadness. What's going to happen to my baby? And in those moments, Allah Azza wa Jal told her, don't be afraid. Don't feel sadness. And even though she still felt afraid and she still felt sadness, what we're learning in these ayat is Allah will help you overcome not being drowned by fear and not being drowned by sadness. He can let you navigate those two feelings. Those two feelings are very powerful. They're enough to drive someone mad. It's like her heart was exploding. She was on the verge of just screaming out, that's my baby, I want my baby back. She was on the very verge of it. She couldn't hold it in. Had we not tied her heart up, like literally something's about to shatter and leak, and Allah says He, like a rope, tied it up and held it in place. What are we learning? We're actually learning that you and I are not capable of controlling our emotions until Allah gives us the strength to do so. The situation didn't change. The baby didn't start flying instead of floating in the water. The reality didn't change, but her heart changed. Her heart was strengthened by divine intervention from Allah Himself. What we're learning in these ayat is that Allah will give you and me a strength to our hearts that will be able to overcome the most powerful fear and the most powerful sadness. He'll make us strong enough, not that those things will go away, but you'll be strong enough to go through it. Reality doesn't change, you change. You change.